Hello, and welcome, lovely listeners, to my podcast, Love People Technology Learning. And I'm your host, Tamara Kacharova. I couldn't be more excited to have you back for another episode of my podcast. It's been an incredible journey diving into this conversation, each one like unlocking a treasure chest of wisdom and stories.
I think that a truly effective team is one that's built on trust and respect. That's holistic. So it has to kind of go both ways. I need to trust and respect the people on my team and know they can deliver. And also they need to trust me enough to feel like my feedback is for their benefit and I have their best interests at heart.
If you had to encapsulate the essence of empathy in just one word, what would it be and why?
It would be perspective, because without it, we only see ourselves.
Yes, thank you so much. So simple, just one sentence, one word. I love it.
Where I think mindfulness happens, and when I talk about being in the moment, it's not just being in the moment with other people, but can you be in the moment with yourself?
With yourself, absolutely.
Can you have a quiet moment to breathe and really just be? If you can't do that, that might be something to explore, but that's probably the first step in my mind is, can I be with myself and just let go, relax, take 5 minutes just to breathe air in, breathe air out, and just be in the quiet.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you. With over 2 decades of hands-on experience in training and development talent, leading workshops on honing soft skills for managers and heading up stellar training teams, I've made it my life's mission to dive deep into the realm of human potential. I'm all about fostering long-lasting connection, and I'm genuinely intrigued by how HR is evolving with the rise of technology. As the CEO of Lanes AI, a top-notch scenario-based learning platform, I'm consistently keeping my finger on the pulse of market trends while staying laser-focused on meeting our clients' needs. So today's the guest is near and dear to my heart, and I'm super stoked to introduce her to you all. I saw your heart now. It's a great. And hey, I bet many of you are already familiar with Loren Sanders, am I right? And by day, Loren is a coach and fractional talent management consultant, enhancing operational efficiency by diagnosing learning gaps, resolving inconsistent processes, and spearheading strategies for assessment, planning, deploying, and evaluating of learning and performance support. Loren dedicated herself to CVS Health for 20 years, the last 4 years as a learning leader, enterprise learning development and performance. She is a change agent, a project-driving strategist, and a mentor, guiding subject matter experts on effective training strategies tailored to their audiences. Loren is also the author of the brilliant book, Empathy is Not a Weakness, and Other Stories from the Edge, published in January 2023. And I'm a big fan of this book, honestly. As for our connection, I had the pleasure of meeting Loren at the Training Magazine conference in Orlando through our mutual friend, and her warmth and depth left a lasting impression on me. And I've always admired her insights and posts in LinkedIn. I truly feel spiritual connection between us. And today we'll delve into a plethora of topics aiming to make the episode as enriching as possible for you. We'll discuss leadership, the role of exceptions, the multi-phase nature of leadership, and the challenges leaders face along with the spirituality, and how to live a more meaningful life and build a career consciously embracing your unique path. And of course, we'll delve into Loren's book, a true gem that I consider a must-have for my personal library. And join us as we explore the importance of inclusive learning experience and designing for all. Get ready for an engaging conversation brimming with insights and inspiration. Let's embark on this podcast adventure together. Welcome to our show. Loren, hi.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for the warm and amazing introduction. I would have introduced myself in probably 2 sentences, but wow, that was a lot. Thank you.
I have more than 2 sentences about you, about your experience and about our lifestyle. Yes, because I really appreciate you for coming to my podcast. And I have like a small talk question about it's early morning as we're recording this episode. And could you share how you get into the groove for the day? And if you have any morning rituals that help you gear up for the day?
Sure. Usually wake up because I get a paw to the head by one of the dogs who wants to go outside. So then I stumble outside with the dog and come back in and make a ginormous cup of coffee and sit and read for probably an hour or 2.
Wow.
I believe in lifelong learning and staying current and up to date on things, and reading has kind of been a passion of mine since I was very young.
Oh my God, I love it. And I have the same rituals about coffee, and I don't have dogs. I have 3 small kids, and I have the same rituals, but with them because they're 9, 7, and 2 years old, and I need to do a lot of stuff in the morning. But it's a great ritual for my mood and for my energy for the day. And I love to read in the morning and sometimes listen some meditation for myself. Yes, it's a great things which we can do for ourselves. Yes, thank you for sharing. How many dogs do you have?
I have 2. They are Roxy, who's a 4-year-old German Shepherd. She was a rescue at 12 weeks. And then I have Jasper, who's new to our family, about almost 3 weeks now. We lost, tragically, one of our dogs on January 1st
wow.
to an unknown illness that was very rapidly progressing. And our vet called a couple of weeks later and said, I have a German Shepherd who's being surrendered and he's 19 weeks old. Would you want to take him? And of course, I couldn't say no because I want to rescue every animal everywhere. And when I retire, I'm just going to get a big farm and do that.
Oh my God, yes. Okay, yes, it's a good. Thank you for sharing about this. And of course, in my podcast, we will talk about career, about sometimes about family, about different kinds of experience for traveling and in the world experience. And tell me a bit about your career path in learning and development, and why did you choose this field? Because it's really interesting for our audience.
My foray into learning and development was really accidental. I kept getting chosen every time they needed somebody to represent and train on whatever X happened to be. And as I started training on these different things, I kept finding gaps and felt like the training lacked something. So then I organically started building on the existing trainings to fill in the gaps. And as a subject matter expert, I started getting curious about the actual roles in training. But when I first started in an L&D department, we did it all, from design to development to programming to facilitation. And I really had no clue what I was doing. So I tried to learn everything possible and then just fell in love with it and stayed with it.
Wow, yes, great. And you have a great experience, you've spent many years in learning and development field, which is an incredible experience that could probably fill its own podcast series. And however, I'd like to delve into it and ask you some more questions about that. Which such extensive experience working with people, how would you describe the structure of effective team management? Because it's really interesting and important now for developing business, not just now, as always. Yeah, because the team, it's a core strategy for every business. Do you see a team as a unified organism, and does this idea resonate with you? Share, please, your opinion.
I think that a truly effective team is one that's built on trust and respect that's holistic. So it has to kind of go both ways. I need to trust and respect the people on my team and know they can deliver. And also they need to trust me enough to feel like my feedback is for their benefit and I have their best interests at heart. Because without trust, we cannot have open communication. We can't create anything productive. And as we hire as leaders, it also might be a good idea to hire people who aren't just like you, who bring different strengths and might even be more smarter and more talented than you are.
Yes, you told about trust and about like who is smarter. What do you think how we can build it? Like, because trust is really important, and do you know like some fast road to build it? Like, what do you think about it?
To build trust, I think there needs to be a level of openness. There needs to be a level of courage, both on behalf of the leader and also the people on the team. Everyone has to experience being for each other versus against each other. And I think sometimes on teams, we create these ideas that only one person can be good at something. And that's something I really don't like. I want everybody on my team to be good at whatever the thing is that we're doing. And if somebody's not great at it, I want someone else on the team to say, hey, I know you're struggling with this. Let me help you rather than let me compete with you. I think a lot of times unknowingly, leaders create this competitive environment on their team, thinking that only one person can be good at something. And that's not how I like to operate.
Maybe you will share, like, some practice tips which you have. How did you build like values like trust? Like you told that you need to build like open conversation in your team. Like, how did you do like a practical tips, right? Like, because it's really interesting how we can do it. Like when we take some theory, how we can implement it in the real life. Yes, maybe you will share some tips, like maybe 1, 2, 3.
I think it really starts with being aware of who you are and what your emotions are like. And the better you understand yourself and how you operate and how you know when you're kind of getting off course or not having great productive thoughts, you're able to course correct that. I don't feel like you can create a productive team until you know yourself and what your own triggers are and how you can hold yourself accountable for showing up on a regular basis for people. And sometimes it's as simple as, I woke up, my day is not good. I need to have a productive conversation with my team about something or a person about something, and knowing my thinking is not quality right now. This might not be the right time to do that. I know myself well enough. Let me postpone this meeting because I need to get myself right before I can expect my team to be right.
And it's so interesting which you told about, like, if you don't have really energy or something happened with you, should you share this with your team or something? Do you need like a leader, some support from them, or you need to stay with this energy and like just collect inside you? What do you think? Like, do you have a practice to tell about everything with the team? And did you share something like really specific which you feel not so just good or like brilliant energy and like, yes, so.
I think there's a balance. So transparency is good, depending on what you're talking about. But there's real value in understanding the way that the business that you operate in works and being able to say to your team, yes, there's pressure. I feel it too. And participating in the reality of what work is every day. I actually posted about this on LinkedIn this morning. I think some of the best words we can use with our teams is, I feel it too. Or I see you. I know today is a day where you just felt like it took all you could do to show up. And I want to acknowledge that. And I want to help you with that. And some days we're super productive. Other days we really struggle. And it's an effort to, for some people, just get out of bed. I think knowing your team well enough and creating a space where we operate as a team. And if one person isn't operating at their full capacity, what is the best they can do that day? Now, if that becomes a trend or a habit that goes on long term, having conversations about getting help can be important. But I think that people need to not be afraid to say, today is a horrible day.
Absolutely.
I think back to some of the things that have happened over the last few years in terms of the social climate. And there were days where some people on my team, because of what happened in the news or because of what happened in the social arena, were really struggling just with that. And someone came to me and said, "Hey, I don't think I can work today." And rather than say, "Well, we have all this work to get done, there's a lot to do," it was, "What do you need? How can I support you taking the day off today? Where can I step in as your leader and take that pressure off of you so that you can take this mental health day or whatever you want to call it to bring yourself back to center, to get grounded so that you can be productive?" But if your team can't talk to you when there's times like that, there's a problem. There's not trust there.
Yes, thank you. Yes, the same things which we practice with my team in our company, because it's really important. And yes, you should have opportunity to tell it, but like it depends on your business needs, and like it's really important when your team can like come to you and to be open to share like everything what happens with them, sometimes with the families, because it's all of stuff which happen in our life influence to our business. And like, yes, we need to influence it in the business, like leaders, like heads of department, like, yeah, it's true. And like, Loren, you've spent over 19 years at CVS Health, which is an incredible experience. And I'm really curious to hear, what has been the most valuable experience for you?
The most valuable experience for me was the relationships that I got to build over the course of time there. I had the opportunity to learn and grow by being exposed to some really smart and talented people, both in learning and development, in the business. Everywhere that I touched, I had the opportunity to learn something. And we were talking about this before the podcast, I'm very much a lifelong learner. So I feel like I have something to learn from everybody I encounter. It doesn't matter what your title is or anything. I've got something to learn from every single person I meet.
Yes. Oh my God. It so resonates with me, because when I've been chief learning officer in the biggest investment worldwide company for over 5 years. And the valuable experience which I've had, it's about relationship. And second one, from this company, I've got some ideas to my own business. And now where I am, like, it's because it was a great experience, like the same, like lifelong learning experience for me, for myself, and like some really educational technology products. It was the idea from the company where I worked. And like, it was really creative idea for myself. It was my ideas, but like, it was there, like started there, and now, yes, it's continue. And of course, great relationships, and my friends, my good friends now, it's not just friends from school, from the university, from all over the world when I was traveling. It's from like my previous work experience, yes. And as a leader in corporate learning development and performance, how did you strike a balance between implementing standardized training program and adapting learning solution to meet the diverse needs of employees? What do you think about it?
I think that in my time spent in corporate learning, I learned a lot about managing relationships with the stakeholders. Sometimes creative approaches are necessary, and sometimes you have to deliver a fire drill. Because I got the opportunity to work on an enterprise team, and I've had the opportunity to work on teams that reported into the business, I got to see learning and development from a lot of different angles. And I think the best tool that you have is yourself and your willingness to be flexible, to ask good questions, to deliver on what helps people in their moments of need so they can get the jobs done that they have to do. That way you add value to the business, but also to learning.
You told about, so interesting, you told about flexibility. You told that first tool, it's yourself, and like about flexibility. What does it mean for you to be like really like flexible for the business, for like something new, what happens with you, for like changing something in your life?
I think it depends on how tuned in you are to what is happening. If you're really listening, then you can almost get what's going on behind the scenes. One of the things that we often don't think about when we're given a fire drill is that the fire drill may come from somewhere above. So if your stakeholder is bringing you a fire drill, Perhaps they're dealing with a fire drill above them. And there are times where we can be super strategic and super creative, but there are other times we just need to deliver in the moment because it's the pressure that the stakeholder has on them. And then we can talk about, once that's done, some of the things that we could do to enhance or change what is happening. But you have to get to know the stakeholder well enough to be able to anticipate and read between the lines or ask the questions that matter so that you can deliver value to the business.
And like maybe next question will be like it's a continue from the last question. It will be about mindfulness. And like mindfulness is currently a global trend now. What does mindfulness mean to you in the realm of management, specifically in business? Moreover, how can one begin to master this art step by step? Because it's really so hard. In my experience, it's really so hard.
The best way I can think of to describe mindfulness is to really be in the moment with somebody. You're not getting distracted by all of the different things happening, and you're listening intentionally to what they're sharing, what makes them tick, honing in on how you can add value to their need or whatever it is, or how we can add value to each other. But it all starts with the ability to listen well and not be distracted.
Yeah, and as for me, because I thought a lot about like mindfulness, sometimes like really I'm thinking about myself, how does it work with me? And as for me, mindfulness is huge in management and especially in the business world, of course, because for me, it's how you told, it's all about staying present, focused and aware in every aspect of what you do as a leader. And it's about like being in tune with your thoughts, emotions and surroundings, which ultimately leads to better decision-making, improved relationships, and increased productivity. Like, as for mastering this art step by step, it starts with small daily practices. I think so. Because things like mindfulness, meditation, deep breathing exercise, or even just taking a few minutes each day to pause, like reflect and reset can make a big differences. It's all about like consistency and making it a part of your routine. Gradually, you will find yourself becoming more mindful in your actions and interactions, both in and out of the workplace. Do you have your personal practice how to develop mindfulness, like for yourself, for you?
I love what you're saying. Where I think mindfulness happens, and when I talk about being in the moment, it's not just being in the moment with other people, but can you be in the moment with yourself?
Absolutely.
Can you have a quiet moment to breathe and really just be? If you can't do that, that might be something to explore, but that's probably the first step in my mind is, can I be with myself and just let go, relax, take 5 minutes just to breathe air in, breathe air out, and just be in the quiet.
It's resonate with me because, for instance, at the CEO of a tech company, of course, I'm crucial for me to be in the moment and focus on what truly matters. And since January of this year, I've implemented the practice of getting up early at 4:30 a.m. And this allows me to engage in a focused meditation practice. And it helps me, like, to feel myself better and hear my thoughts and be with me like 20-30 minutes. But like, because yes, our day is so fast, like the time flies so fast. And like, I'm trying to be in the moment, but this practice will show me how I can do it, not just in the moment, but sometimes like 20-30 minutes in the morning will help me like to have some new experience for the day. And like, I do it and I love it so much. Yeah.
It's a great practice.
Yes, I love it. I've never did it before, but now I feel that I need it. Like, maybe it's a time, because it depends on you, depends on your relationship, about like sometimes it depends on your business goals, about your team, about your kiddos, about your pets, about like everything what happened around you. And now I feel that I need it. And I think that's people in business, like everywhere, they need to listen themselves, and if they feel that they need it, they should do it. Yes, they try to do it.
Sometimes it's just 5 minutes at a time.
Exactly. And I have a next question about, like, we talked a lot about like people, about human skills, about like soft skills. In other hand, we have technology. In your opinion, what role do technologies play in enhancing employee learning and performance in the rapidly evolving in different kinds of businesses?
I probably have the unpopular answer to this. While I think technology is really great, I think it's important that it doesn't distract the person from the learning to do whatever we're training them to do. Sometimes technology enhances, sometimes it distracts. And I think some of the best tools are the ones that allow you to better manage your projects or your work. And as an L&D person, I'm super focused for the L&D population on things that help you manage all of the programs and projects you're managing. The tools are relative to the role that people play and should enhance their ability to do the job. And those are the tools you need. We shouldn't use a tool just because it's pretty or it's cool. If it doesn't help you do your job better, then you haven't thought about it right.
Yeah. And like, to continue this topic, the topic of AI and employee training is definitely trending and gaining significant importance. What are your thoughts on this? And do you know any effective practical applications of AI in educational projects? Maybe you will tell some of them, and which experience did you have, like, in your previous companies, in your life experience? Maybe you've heard about something and you was really so thrilled to hear about this kind of tools or something.
I think there is a balance between using AI as a partner or using AI to do your job. I think right now, in the form that it currently lives in, depending on what type of AI we're talking about, so most people are talking about ChatGPT right now, I think if you use it to do your job instead of actually using your own intelligence, you probably are at a disadvantage than if you use it as a partner to enhance the work that you're doing. To how can I say this sentence better, or how can I reframe my thinking about X? Here are my current thoughts. I think there's a lot of people out there to follow that have a lot of great ideas about how to use things like ChatGPT. Artificial intelligence has been around for a really long time, and people think that the latest thing that they're looking at is AI, when really there's a lot of algorithms that are built in AI that give us a lot of great information about things. And just don't shy away from the technology is the advice I would give. If you're fearing it, you're probably at a disadvantage. Learning about it and what it can do and where that comes from will put you at more of an advantage. There's also opportunity for us to think about the ways that we can make AI more trustworthy. And there's a lot of writing about that, a lot of research. So I would just encourage people to investigate more and I wouldn't use it as a crutch, just use it as a partner.
I have like the same opinion about that. And of course, I love technology. I love people and technology. It's like in one box together. And if you love it, like, really technology can open for you like a new reality, like a new universe, and it will help you like for everything, like a partner sometimes. Yes, you told like assistance, and you can use it. But like your professional focus revolves around empathy and the development of human skills. And what do you think about developing these skills in people with the help of artificial intelligence? Are there any examples or experience of implementing such projects in the world of personal development? Like, what do you think so about that?
Using artificial intelligence might be able to help you hone in on things like empathetic language patterns or the way that we approach a human being. But I think the real value of empathy comes from practicing it. I see it very much more of a practice than as a skill. And I think if we call it a skill, we minimize the impact that it has. And if we aren't practicing it, we're getting worse.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes, it's true. Thank you so much. And let's imagine we have a team leader who repeatedly makes mistakes. And what steps should this person take to cultivate empathy? Do you believe people can change? And what do you think about that?
If you're talking about somebody who comes across as unempathetic, the first step to any change, and I keep saying this, I think, is awareness. And then there's acceptance. If people aren't aware, they aren't going to be able to change. If they don't believe they have a problem, that's another problem altogether. But in my coaching practice, I typically like to start with an assessment for someone like this. It helps me see where they think they are. And it also opens up conversations about how they might be perceived by others. That's usually a pretty good opening for more work.
And you told that you have like some special assessment, like maybe assessment session. How do you assess this thing about empathy? And like, do you have like some special questions, or it could like, it's some test, some kind of test? Like, how does it work?
I don't want to sell any one assessment over the other, but there are a lot of assessments out there that can give you good indicators. Probably the most commonly used assessment, I would think, is DISC. And when you assess somebody with DISC, for example, you get a good idea of how their natural and adaptive behaviors show up. Something I really like about DISC reporting is there's actually a piece of it that says this is how you might be perceived by other people. And that can usually open up good conversations. But I'm not trying to sell one assessment over another. There's a lot of assessments that can open up these conversations. I think person by person is where the impact is made.
Do you remember some story about somebody from your life, like from all the year of like your experience at work or in the family or with your friends, or like, I don't know. And you remember that person was not so empathic, and you worked with him or her, and through the years, she or him back to you and told the story. How did this influence, this development with you influence to her or his life? Because it's a brilliant when you have like this story.
I have a lot of coaching clients that think that they aren't empathetic. I do a lot of empathy coaching in my coaching practice. The one that comes to mind most recently is a gentleman who works in a school system, and his staff constantly is telling him that he doesn't see their side of things. He gets a lot of feedback that people complain about him. And the first thing he ever told me in our conversation is, I have no empathy. And I think we spend a lot of time talking about diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, and digging into the psyche of everybody that is not a white man. There is opportunity to look at men as a separate, I almost want to say class of people, but that's not really what I mean. When you look at a man and you look at the pressures that society in general and history has put and built on a man, there are certain behavioral expectations that don't go away, even though the social construct is changing. There's still an expectation that a man is going to be a provider, that a man is going to be a leader, that a man has to be stoic, that a man has to lead by the impact. And sometimes that's not always empathetic. When I've been talking to this client, we're talking a lot about what's fact and what's feeling. And what stories am I telling myself about the way that I need to show up? And how might the way that I show up impact other people? And those are the kinds of practices that we work on. And what he's been telling me is that has just thinking through that process of fact, feeling, how am I showing up? What am I saying? What might other people think about what I'm saying? How could this be perceived outside of my own head? Those are the kinds of stories I hear that make the most changes. But actually becoming self-aware about the pressures that you have on you for how you need to show up can help move the needle.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you. Because these stories, I love it because I have my own stories with my, not clients, but like I know my life experience with the people. And like sometimes it's just one word or one sentence can influence on you and everything will change. Like everything, like step by step, you start to implement something so valuable to your life and your life was changed. Like, yeah, and I love it, really. I appreciate you. And right now, I'd like us to dive into ego-driven decision-making versus empathy. And it seems to me that as we step into leadership roles or manage teams, we often encounter ego-driven decision-making, and it's easy to slip into that mode or even constantly operate from that place. What's your take on this?
Again, it all starts with self-awareness and understanding how other people might see me. Acceptance is huge. Accepting that, and then being able to catch yourself in the middle of it, of your patterns, can make a difference. And I think coaching really helps with this. I would like to see, if the world was perfect, coaching be much more accessible to people at all levels of an organization because it matters.
And like sometimes I wonder if I'm an empathetic leader or not, because like, yes, it's really important for me, like, because I really trust to my team and trust and love my team. I've read about that team. It's not your friends, but sometimes you feel something more that's like just business relationship, like we are human and it could be with us. And it's crucial for me that my team not only like achieves business results, but also feels comfortable within the team, especially since we're fully remote and only meet face to face once a year at most. Like, yes, because world was changed. And criteria of an empathetic leader, what characteristics would such a person from the crowd? What's about that?
My first thought as you were talking was how much I don't like when people say our team is a family. Family can be a real trigger for people. Some families are very dysfunctional.
Yeah.
The reality of the criteria of an empathetic leader, it all starts with your ability to prioritize listening and understanding diverse perspectives and experiences. And I'm not talking about racial diversity. I'm just talking about different perspectives and experiences that aren't yours. Recognizing that other people's stories and thoughts are valid and they're important, even if they aren't the same as yours. This leader is emotionally intelligent, is aware of their own emotions, how those guide their thinking. They have the ability to adapt to environments or achieve goals because they're effective communicators, because they can acknowledge other people's perspectives, and they can communicate with clarity and respect while being authentic and maybe even a little vulnerable. That I feel it too really matters. This is a leader that provides support, provides encouragement, recognizes other people's needs, and even offers help or resources to facilitate somebody else's growth. They make people feel valued. They understand that cultural differences influence feelings. They influence practices. They influence interactions on teams. And we're talking about global teams, even some of those global cultural differences. These people can navigate conflict well because they're looking to acknowledge and address the needs and feelings of other people, but still are committed to learning and growing themselves.
Mm-hmm. And like on this point, like what's important for an empathetic leader to do when managing a team virtually, like 70-90% of the time in today's reality? Like, is it like some difference? Did you see some difference from virtual and in person?
Personally, for me, what I've seen is virtually sometimes there's more distractions. If you can intentionally be in the moment with someone that's virtual, that makes all the difference in the world. It can be very close to face-to-face conversation. Sometimes virtual people are a little bit more brave about saying something than being in a room with many people. It's understanding your team, the way they operate, how they feel. Sometimes it can be as simple as, I know you've been on camera all day long today in meetings. How about for this meeting, we turn our cameras off, but we decide that we're going to be committed to being here and being productive members of the conversation, but take yourself off camera.
Maybe you can tell us a little more, some really practical tips how to lead the team in virtual with empathetic, with like you told about, like camera on, off, and what happened when people turn on or turn off the camera, what happens in your real life and because people turn off the camera. Do you remember some another practical examples? How does it work? Like you can share.
I may be different than other people. Every leader is different, and what they will tolerate or allow is also different. And I use those words because the level of comfort is different person to person. But I believe that your work and your life are so integrated now, especially post-COVID, that people are going to walk into your meeting. A dog is going to climb in your lap. The cat's going to walk across your keyboard. All of those things are okay because they're part of life. If I expect you to get your work done in a 24/7 period of time, regardless of how you set up your day or how I expect you as a leader to set up your day, I've got to accept that there are other things happening besides just the work. And I have to focus more on the outcome than the time or the kid that walks in. I've always told my teams that children and dogs are welcome. If that's what it takes to get you to be a part of something and concentrate, if you need to hold a sick kid on your lap because it's going to make them feel better and you can still participate and be a part of the conversation, why is that not okay? I think we have to change the way that we think about how work gets done and what we think is really important. I've got top performers I've had on teams that have had situations like this. And you know what? They're still top performers on the team. They don't become not a top performer because they need to hold their child for 5 minutes. If we have that kind of thinking, we're just minimizing people as a whole.
We're on the same page with that because like now my kiddos, my eldest sons, 9 and 7 years old, they're at home because spring break is on the air and they're in the room. And now one of them, like I told them, guys, I'm recording my podcast, like be quiet in your room. Of course, they're not so quiet. It's okay. I knew it. And one of them, like, like step by step, like so shy, like, mommy, I'm here. Okay. Like he's showing me that he's here, but like, I care about you, mommy. I try to be so quiet, like, yes, and I love it, and like it's our real life, and I think that's from the COVID we started to be more open for our team. And you told like in the first sentence of our episode about trust and open like communication, and I think it gave us more chances to be open because like something in our business life, not just business. Like we open new doors for our business goals and tasks sometimes with family, with pets, with kiddos, with everything what happens with us. Like with this, like paintings and like some books which we have on the table or shelves, and like we can talk about that more than like in person in our office. Yes.
One of the best stories I ever heard from someone that came to some really big self-awareness was they were playing with their toddler, and the toddler was playing on a play phone with a play typewriter. I'm aging myself, a play computer. And the mom said something to the child, and the child held up their hand and they said, "Shh, mommy, I'm on a conference call." And she thought, oh my gosh.
Yes, it's a mirror.
I know, see what my child is seeing.
Yeah,
right?
It's a mirror.
It is.
Yes, I know. But like, yes, I remember the time when COVID came to our life, and like, yes, I had just 2 babies. After that, like my 3rd baby. And like, I always felt free, like to have my babies sometimes in the meetings or something. And like, but it was just like sometimes with my customers and with my partners, it was like so funny and like a little like just for 1 minute, but like it was a great conversation in like just in a small talk or something. And it was not like so bad. I felt that I'm comfortable, my kiddos are comfortable, and my partners are comfortable, and they can see that I'm a human and like in the same things because they have the same situation, and like we are in the same page. Like, yes, it's okay, it's normal. Yes, thank you. And thank you for this real great story about mirror. That's our kiddos and what happens with us in real life. It's a mirror for us. And sometimes we can, yes, he is here like now. He's running. Yeah,
That's okay.
Yes, that's okay. Yeah, and now I want to talk to you about your book because it's a brilliant book I've ever read, and it's really true. And I remember that it was like your book is so simple to understand because it's not just about theory, it's a practice, and it's like your book has a lot of stories. And I'm really confident that the life stories help us to learn more about ourselves and like to give us a chance to see like something from another side. And your book delves into the complexity of human nature, focusing on embracing vulnerabilities, weaknesses, and desires. How can individuals embark on this transformative journey of seeing people as multi-faced beings? And what strategies can we adopt to break free from the cycle of judgment and condemnation?
Curiosity is probably the best tool in your tool belt. And I keep thinking about Ted Lasso, who says, be a goldfish.
Yes.
But
I love him.
I would tell you to be a groundhog. Mm-hmm. Be a groundhog. So if you think about the groundhog, they're underground, hiding from everything. And then Groundhog Days comes around. And then they poke their little head out. They look around and become curious. And they start stepping out of their little hidey hole. And either they see their shadow and they run back and go back into the ground, or they don't see their shadow and they're out moving around and being more curious. So I want you to be the groundhog that doesn't see your shadow and run away, that rather than being the groundhog that sees the shadow and goes back into the hidey hole.
Yeah, and if you had to encapsulate the essence of empathy in just one word, what would it be and why?
It would be perspective, because without it, we only see ourselves.
Yes. Thank you so much. So, so simple. Just one sentence, one word. I love it. And do you believe that fostering empathy starts with cultivating compassion and prioritizing self-care? Can one uphold high personal standards while maintaining empathy for others? And how can one develop that as an adult when you are already established as a person? It's really important because, like, we are adults. About kiddos, I know how does it work. But like when you are adult, it's like sometimes it's really so hard.
I do believe that it starts with cultivating compassion and prioritizing self-care, because until you can have compassion towards yourself and self-awareness and emotional regulation, it's hard to be truly empathetic. That doesn't mean that you can't be an empath, though, which is a whole other topic, and we could spend an entire podcast on that.
Yeah. And that empathy is a powerful tool, but in what scenario can it potentially backfire or be detrimental? Like, can you shed light on the traits of behaviors that may lead to empathetic missteps?
I would say there's a couple of watch outs. One is over-identification with other people, where you lose sight of the boundary between your own emotion and the emotion of other people. And that happens sometimes in caregiving situations, like social workers or healthcare workers. That's where you really need to watch out for that. There's also something called empathy bias, where, and some people might call this in-group bias, but sometimes we're more empathetic to people who are like us than people who aren't like us. The other is constant exposure to people's suffering can cause compassion fatigue, especially if you're in a high empathy role. And what's interesting is we're seeing more of that in the HR population since COVID than we ever had before. And that state of emotional exhaustion can diminish somebody's ability to actually empathize effectively, and it can cause adverse well-being effects. So it goes deeper and deeper. And then there's the dark side, where the empathetic person might be more susceptible to manipulation, especially by a skilled or narcissistic manipulator would take advantage of people who are empathetic. So it's important to develop balanced empathy, which means you understand other people's feelings and situations, and you can walk with them, but you don't lose your own shoes in the process.
Yes, thank you. Like, I agree with you and about manipulation, because sometimes, oh my God, it's so really like terrible, and like, so I feel so bad if I feel that, and if I see it in the people who are around me, it's really like a heartbreaking for me. And like, yes, it's really crazy for myself. I know that I can handle it, but like, it's so hard for me. Like, and balancing like genuine empathy with emotional resilience can be challenging, especially for leaders concerned about being perceived as soft. How can leaders authentically navigate this balance, and what strategies can they employ to remain empathetic yet firm?
When you balance empathy with emotional resilience, that is challenging, especially in environments that look at emotional expressiveness as a weakness or a lack of authority. So some of those might be where military, for example, or policing. But navigating that balance really requires you to be nuanced. You have to be perceived as compassionate and empathetic, but you also have to be perceived as decisive. It's not one or the other, it's both. And if we look at somebody like Brené Brown, for example, one of the things that she talks about in her research is that vulnerability is the core of all emotions. So being open about your own challenges, your own uncertainties, you can help develop a culture of trust and openness. Encouraging your team to share about their own experiences also makes a difference. But we have to understand when empathy is needed and when it's effective and when it isn't. And there are moments during crisis or personal challenges that are faced by team members when empathy can significantly impact the morale and loyalty. And we have to know what those moments are and prioritize our leadership accordingly.
Yes, and like my next question will be, like you told about police and like about government, about like some industries, like which is really like has a different culture. And I've been delving deep into leadership and behavior models of the most successful companies. And for example, both like Steve Jobs and Elon Musk are known for their unique leadership styles, isn't it? And Steve Jobs was known for his strict, inspiring approach to management at Apple. He was passionate about perfection and often exhibited like authoritarian traits. And meanwhile, Elon Musk also exerts straight in his leadership, but he is also known for his innovation and futuristic vision. He can be more empathetic, like especially towards his teams, but his leadership style is typically more uncompromising and goal-oriented. That this suggests that an empathetic management style is much less successful in achievement and companies' financial results. It's really interesting. Like, I'm really curious about that. What do you think?
I'll give you the short answer and the long answer.
Yeah.
The short answer is no. The long answer is the styles of Steve Jobs and Elon Musk, while they're unique, they highlight an important aspect of leadership effectiveness, and that is context. And within context, there's alignment of the leadership style with the organization's goals, the culture, and the demands of whatever industry you're in. And each aspect plays a role in that leader's success. And while they each demonstrate authoritative styles that drive organizations to innovation and financial success, that does not suggest that an empathetic leader would be less effective in achieving the financial results. What it does do is it underscores the importance of diversity of leadership approaches and how different styles can be effective in different contexts. And the context matters. There's tons of research showing the long-term benefits of empathetic leadership, one of which is retention. Another is positive work environment, sustained innovation. And while authoritarian approaches might achieve short-term goals or short-term innovations, if we're looking for sustainable success, we need leaders that can adapt to the style and needs of the team, the demands of whatever the situation is. And I want to remind everybody that empathy doesn't mean lack of feedback. It doesn't mean lack of direction. It doesn't mean lack of decisiveness. An empathetic leader can be goal-oriented. They can be decisive. The key lies in how they're communicating decisions, how they're engaging with the team's perspectives, how they're motivating teams towards achieving goals. And that is where the difference makes a difference.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes, it was like, it's really on my mind, like, because I think it's a good question, because I think our audience, when we're listening something about like some theory or like about like different kinds of leadership styles or something, of course, we are thinking, okay, how does it work if I'm a person who is like so straight, or like, yes, is it weakness or no? Like how, like, yes, and it's good. Thank you. And now I want to ask you some really, for me, is one of my lovely topic in my episodes in my podcast about like, so interesting question about like life experience, about like your lifestyle, about something which you really love and have passion about. And like, I want to ask you, what is your like source of your inner strength? Like, can you trace it back to a defining moment or experience that shaped it?
I would say my faith is probably my driving force, my belief in God, and I have a very unique faith background in that my extended family is Jewish and my parents became Christians when I was 8. But there's something in the Jewish faith that's called tikkun olam, which means doing good, basically, in the world. And it's a foundational practice, I think, that spans people, religions, cultures, all of it. The source of my inner strength is wanting to do good in the world.
Oh my God, yes, it's so deep, and like, my heart started to beat like faster, because like I remember my childhood, and I've read my first child's Bible when I was 5. Yes, because my parents are Christian, and it was not my grandmom. She was a neighbor who spent a lot of time with me, because I was born in USSR in a like not so much poor family, but like I was born in like family who lived in a flat where we had 3 rooms. And we shared bathroom and kitchen and restrooms, like everything we shared with the neighbors. And one of the neighbor was my like grandma. She's not my bloody grandma, but like she was really my grandmom. And I remember that's like I spent a lot of time with my child's Bible with her, and like in the evening I had a picture of Jesus, and I came to her room, and I prayed in the evening before sleeping, and it was my like great warm memories about like my childhood. Yes, one of my best, I think so. Like, yes, and I loved it. And I have like the same relationship with the God, like to do something really so warm and deep for me, for my environment, for my family. And like now I feel that's like, of course, with my business and everything what I'm doing, I can share with the world, not just for myself. No, I don't like save it just for myself or just for my families and friends. Yes, thank you. It's really so resonate with me too. Yes, and I know your Faith Plata's quote, the worst of all deceptions is self-deception. If you could offer advice inspired by this quote, what would it be? How can we navigate through self-deception and recognize it when it occurs?
Get self-aware.
Yes.
Work at it. Work at it all the time.
Yes, oh my God.
Keep learning.
Yes.
Keep learning. Keep gathering feedback. Listen for facts. act on the facts, even if the feelings are terrible, even if the feelings stink, act on the facts.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much. And you are someone who is deeply knowledgeable about empathy. How does that reflect in your family life? It's so interesting because, always people ask me like, okay, you've been in learning and development and coaching like over 15 years. How do you implement like some practice or some like practical tips from learning and development in business to your life, like with your friends, with your families, and in your relationship with friends and loved ones? What do you truly utilize to build warm and long-lasting connections? Yes, share, please.
I think genuinely caring about people and their stories and being willing to listen to whatever they want to talk about, or really appreciating the stories that other people have. I think that's really the most impactful thing that I bring it to work, I bring it to home, I bring it to my kids, I bring it to my friends. I truly want to know your story.
Yes, and like maybe now I have a question, what you are really proud of yourself, because like your friends and your loved ones come to you. What's really proud, like just a second, how to, oh my God, so hard. So hard to ask about that.
I think I know what you're asking. It's maybe, am I happy with the way things are happening? Do I feel proud of myself?
Yes.
And the answer to that is, I think pride is a very dangerous place to be. I think the most important thing is that we're just continuously learning and growing with people. And I'm not saying that you should create these moments of self-doubt for yourself, but I think remaining grounded and focused on what you're trying to do and being the best human being you can be in the world is much better than being proud of anything that you've done. A lot of people will disagree with me, but it's because other people care that you're successful. And a lot of times your success can be dependent on the support that you have around you, the followers that you have on LinkedIn, the people that listen to the speaking engagements that you have. Without all of those other people, you can have as much writing or as much anything as you want to, but without other people along, you're not going to be successful. And taking the moment of pride feels super cringy to me. I don't, and other people may not agree with that, and that's okay. It's just
okay.
How I like to operate.
Yes, it's okay. Yes, because we are different, and like it's the same which I'm talking about my mom. Sometimes like I'm thinking, okay, my mom is successful or no? She's a successful woman because she has 2 daughters and she has a great relationship with them. She has like every day I'm like, now we live in a different countries and we have different time zones, like 7 hours between us. But like every day we talk and she is talking with my children and she is really success. Like because she has a great, yes, maybe she loves her work, because like she worked in a child's hospital for over 40 years, just like in one place. Yes, and like she is a happy woman, and it's her success because she has a great relationships and she is really human and she built it by herself. Yeah, and it's true. For me, it's true. Maybe someone are not agree with me, but it's okay. It's okay. And like, what brings your genuine happiness and contentment in life?
I would say family, my dogs, my kids, all of that.
Yes. Tell me like a little, is it okay like to talk about like a little about your family? How many kids do you have? How old are they? Like it's really interesting for me.
I have a blended family, so I have 6 kids and they're all grown. When I married my husband, I got 4.
Yeah, great.
And I had 2. So they
Great.
range in age. I have to think about how old they are, from 33 down to 24.
Wow, so great. And do you have grandchilds?
I have 5, and the 6th one is coming in May.
Oh my God. Wow. How do you love to spend time with your family? What's your favorite things, what you love to do with them?
I grew up in a culture where food is love. So
Yes.
I think everything kind of revolves around family being together and some sort of meal or gathering where we're enjoying each other and also enjoying good food.
What's your favorite good food? What kind of?
Oh my gosh, I have so many favorite foods. It depends on who's making it.
Uh-huh. If you are making by yourself, what's your favorite?
If I'm making something by myself, I really love to make Italian food.
Oh my God, I love it too.
So lasagna, baked
Oh,
ziti, the more cheese is love, right?
oh my God, more cheese, absolutely. Multiply twice, 3 times. Like, yes, I love it. I
Right,
love it
but
too.
hot cheese, not like, I don't like cold cheese. It has to be like warm and cooked into something.
And what's your favorite food from your husband?
My husband he really enjoys American bar food. So
Yeah.
like burgers, pizza, that kind of stuff.
Yes. Oh my God. My kiddos, like I have 3 sons and they love burgers like so much. So like so bad. They love it. Yes, and they love pasta and they love pizza. Italian food is so like popular in my family with my friends and kiddos. Yes, we love it too, and cheese, of course. Okay, and I love to ask my guests about like what was the last thing you asked ChatGPT? Can you share?
The last thing I asked ChatGPT, probably something about helping me create a title for an article is likely. I don't have trouble with the content, but coming up with good titles,
Yes.
I have trouble with.
Like marketing and like something like that, because like sometimes ChatGPT can give you like really unique title, like it's like some brilliant, like I love it because like some creative ideas ChatGPT is doing this like so good. I love it too. Yeah. And taking a trip down memory lane, what was your favorite book during your childhood years? Because you told like in the start of our episode that you really books lover, like you loved so much to read the books. Share your childhood experience with the book and your favorite.
Probably my best childhood memory is my dad reading to my sister and I the Chronicles of Narnia every night.
Wow, so great. Yes, I love it. I've never read this book, but of course I watched the movie and it's one of my favorite, and like I love like fantasy like that, and yes, it's a great story. And I love this question too. It's about like literature or something like that. Tell your favorite quatrain and explain why exactly you choose it.
So I don't know if this qualifies as a quatrain, but I'm going to make it one. It is lyrics to a song, and the song is Hammer and Nail by the Indigo Girls. So clearly I'm very 90s here, but it's got to get out of bed and get a hammer and a nail. Learn how to use my hands, not just my head. I'll think myself into jail. Now I know a refuge never grows from a chin and a hand and a thoughtful pose. Got to tend the earth if you want a rose. And the reason I love it is because it's about you have to do the work, not just think about it or talk about it. So many people actually just talk about things or say, I support X and don't do the work behind it. Don't volunteer, don't put their money or time towards whatever their plight is. And if you're just thinking about it, it's not enough. You have to go out in the world and do your work.
Yes. Thank you for sharing. And in the end of my podcast, I have a special question for my guests. It's called Ask the Next Guest on my podcast. And here's how it goes. Every guest gets to throw a question, and the next guest I believe it adds a unique touch, allowing the previous guest to pose a question to the next one. And last week, Haley Penrod from Salesforce was my wonderful guest, and she passed on her question to you. Are you ready to answer? Yes?
Yep, I'm ready to answer it.
Yes, okay, Loren. And great, here is it.
What learning problem, so whether it's localization or how something resonates, so what learning problem is the most top of mind for you, and how have you thought about solving it?
I would say the learning problem that I see as the most impactful and important one that I would like to fix across all of L&D, across all of time, is the fear of the measurement. I want people to know, I actually wrote an article a while back for Training Industry Mag that was called Nobody Told Me There'd Be Math. I want people to understand that they don't have to be great at math in order to measure the effectiveness of learning, and that while we are not, in general, the money-making part of the organization, if we could better prove the impact that we have on the business, we could probably get a lot more dollars to fund a lot of the really cool things that we could use technology for that would make learning more effective.
Yes. Oh my God, I agree with you. I love it what you said. And thank you for sharing. It was truly fascinating to learn about this aspect. Yes. Well, then I suggest asking you a question for the next guest. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Yes, Loren, please.
I would like your next guest to tell us the most impactful advice they have for themselves as a high school senior.
Oh my God, great question. Thank you, Loren. And it was really so deep and great for me to talk to you. And for me, this podcast, sometimes it's like a mantra for myself, because I try to know more people in learning and development industry. And I feel that we can build some community and relationship to help the industry, to share something in knowledge, in learning and development experience, and will help us to build so deeper relationship and to make this world better and sometimes more light. Thank you so much. It's a great. And with that, we are wrapping up another fantastic episode. Heartfelt thank you to each and every one of you for joining us on this enlightening journey through our podcast. Your support means the world to me, and I'm incredibly grateful for the opportunity to explore and discover alongside you. A special shout out to our wonderful guest, Loren. Thank you immensely for the inspiration and the invaluable opportunity to learn from you. I'm certain this exchange has been both enriching and enlightening for us all. This conversation has been nothing short of exhilarating. I encourage you to delve into Loren's book, as it serves as a profound and invaluable source of knowledge. I look forward to the opportunity to discuss its insights together in the future. It's essential that this wealth of wisdom reaches as many people as possible, so I extend my gratitude to Loren for granting us access to such an invaluable source of inspiration. Thank you once again for being part of our podcast family. Stay tuned for more captivating episodes brimming with engaging conversations and inspiring narratives. Until next time, take care, stay curious, and keep shining brightly. Farewell for now. Bye.